Happy 16th birthday. Happy 62nd birthday to me. Hey guys, it's XK. I'm talking about what it feels like to be an OG, an old guy. Young people need to hear the secret I reveal about being an OG later in the video. So stay tuned until the end. It's very humbling when a young brother walks up to me and says, "What's up, OG?" That is a stark reminder of my age as anything else can be. It's like a slap back to reality because I was walking around thinking I was feeling cool and hip and young. All of a sudden, this guy comes out of the blue and says, "What's up, OG?" And I'm thinking, who is he talking to? I felt kind of embarrassed, actually. I felt a little bit shame and felt like I was shrinking down to the ground, a little smaller than I did beforehand. That wasn't something that I expected. Actually, I don't feel young. I just feel like I'm being in the world as I am without an age, and that no one is noticing me as an OG. So now I can see why Snoop changes his name every few years. He's trying to stay young in people's minds. Something about Snoop Lion probably sounds more relevant to him than just Snoop Dogg or Snoop. Now, let me tell you something that's really honest, and that is this is the first birthday where I really have felt old. Even when I turned 60, I felt I was still fairly young or young-ish. 61 passed, and well, I had to think about 61 because I'm in the military. I know I'm an old guy in the military because most military people are in their 40s and 50s when they retire. I'm 62, I'm still hanging in there, so I'm feeling like the guy who really needs to just go ahead and hang up his uniform and head to the house. The oldest feeling is really anxiety. And I realize now, more than in previous years, that I'm the old guy from a young person's perspective. It's not something that I was looking forward to. In other words, I'm thinking of myself now from the other person's point of view. When we're young, we intuitively know there's a line in the sand where we see folks as older, right? When I was a kid, I saw my parents and my uncles and my aunts as old. For sure, I saw my grandparents as really old. I just didn't imagine that one day I would be in their shoes, where people were looking at me and saying, "He's an old guy." I mean, they aren't really saying it out loud, but in their minds, I know they're thinking it because I was thinking it when I was in my teens and 20s and 30s, even in my 40s. In my 50s, I began to think, kind of in that middle group, middle age, still a bit in denial. Well, why does it even matter? It matters for several reasons. And we have to admit we are no longer young. Our lives have definite limits, and time is running out. So we have fewer years ahead of us than we have behind us. So at 62, there's no way in the world I'm going to live to be 124, right? It's just not going to happen. I'd be lucky to live to, as a black man, honestly, 70. My dad died at 77, which is the average age of most men's deaths. Black men tend to die a little bit younger than that. So thinking that I'm going to live as long as I have already lived, negative. That is not going to happen. So then you have to kind of say goodbye to acting like you didn't know any better. In other words, there's no more room for naivete in your life because at 62, I know when I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, right? You just have an intuitive knowledge about that. Your age has come to the point where you can't say, "I didn't know," or plead ignorance. You just can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And I think we're also vulnerable to being feeble or seen as feeble. I mean, I'm not walking around with a cane. I still can get up and run. I ran 2 miles a few days ago. Yesterday I got on the treadmill and was walking on the incline of 1.5 for about 30 minutes at about 4 miles per hour, which is pretty decent. The day before I did some stair climbing. I think I did 15 minutes of stair climbing. That might be a little bit of a stretch. But I'm always, in the gym working out. So I don't have this sense that I'm feeble. But when I look around me, I see people who are. And as you get older, you realize you don't want to be feeble like the people you see around you who are. And that is one reason that age kind of makes a difference. I think something else that dawned on me about this aging business is that you have to say goodbye to the idea of being sexy, right? I used to think of myself as sexy or having some sex appeal. I'm the guy who was walking around checking out the sisters and so forth. And every now and then I see a sister checking me out. But as you get older, that thing happens fewer and fewer times. Not only am I married and people see that I'm married, but just the natural instinct that you feel others will have to check you out begins to fade. And that's something that is hard to come to grips with. Because in the animal kingdom, a lot of our purpose depends on our ability to attract a mate or to think of ourselves as capable of attracting a mate. We spend a lot of time trying to be attractive. And being old or a senior citizen has got to be the opposite of sexy, right? I mean, there are a few older people that we see on TV who still maintain their attractiveness, like Jane Fonda or Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, who is my same age, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. I go down the list. Sean Connery, when he was alive, older guy, still looking good. But for the majority of us, we're not in the public eye. We're just walking around as normal, random folks. And in that state, being a senior citizen is, like I said, the opposite of being sexy. So now, I want to ask you to click on subscribe and give me a birthday present I might deserve. That is another subscription. I'm trying to grow my channel, and if you've gotten this far in the video, obviously I'm saying something that makes a difference or keeps you listening. So it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe now. I don't mind begging for your subscription or your likes. I need them to grow my channel. I'm just trying to keep it 100. It's funny, when people speak of you at your funeral, no one ever says, he sure was fine, and he sure was good looking, or she sure was beautiful, or she was fine. Now, as a brother, I know when I look at a woman who's any age, when she's fine, it just comes up. And when you're married, you look at your wife thinking she's fine. But for some reason, that's something that's taboo. At the funeral, people don't want to talk about how good looking you are. They like to forget that part of your life or act as if it wasn't that important. In reality, it is. So I wonder, why do we act like that? When we're alive, we spend mega bucks and time trying to look pretty. And maybe that's one reason that we so admired Muhammad Ali, the greatest, the GOAT, because he was bold in saying to the world, I'm pretty, I'm pretty. We would laugh at it, but he was. He had a beautiful daughter. I think of Elvis too. My wife would say, that's a pretty man. And we know Elvis had like the maximum sex appeal. Look at old videos of Elvis dancing and performing, and people are going crazy, throwing their panties at him, and women are fainting in the audience. And he married Priscilla, who was another beautiful person. They had a daughter who was beautiful. If you were to go to Lisa Presley's funeral, she died earlier this year, you would realize no one's gonna say she's a beautiful woman. But I remember seeing Lisa Presley on several years ago, and she was so beautiful. I said to myself, who is that? I didn't know who she was because I had missed the introduction. Honestly, I've only had a few instances in my life where I saw something that was so beautiful that it literally took my breath away. And that happened when I saw Lisa Presley. The other time is when I was in the Louvre in Paris, and I was walking into the Impressionist exhibit. I remember turning around, looking at this Monet, and it was so beautiful. I literally lost my breath. I could feel my chest tighten up as I saw how dynamic and how alive that picture of those flowers was. It just stole my breath. My wife talks about a few people that I know she really admires their physical beauty because she'll look at a person on a screen and say, he's beautiful. And two people who come to mind where I've seen her or heard her say that are Keith Urban, the singer, country singer, and Michael Strahan, who I never in a million years before she said that would have thought, that's a good looking guy. I don't know why I didn't know it. I just didn't know it. Now she says that about me too, but I realize it's more of a sentimental gesture than a physical thing that she's speaking. Not to say that I'm not attractive to her, I think I am, but not in the terms of beautiful like Keith Urban or Michael Strahan. So let me get back to my list. And here's the reason that getting old really matters. No one wants to be that guy who doesn't realize it's time to stop doing what they do, right? As much as I love Terry Bradshaw and Jimmy Johnson and seeing those guys on Sunday football on the behind the desk giving the commentary, they look like they are well past their prime. Even Boomer Esiason is looking that way now. And I'm thinking, why don't these guys realize that it's time for them to retire and sit down and let a younger person come up there and be in the seat? Or more so, why doesn't CBS say to those guys, hey, your time is up. You know, we need some younger faces in the place. They got Tony Romo a few seasons ago after he retired from football, and Tony lit the place up. I mean, he really lit it up. In fact, Tony kind of revolutionized the booth with his youth and his new, I don't know if it's millennial perspective, but he brought in a different way of being in the booth, really excitable. But the most thing I think you notice is that his youth really came through. He even fired up people in other booths like Troy Aikman, for example. He became more animated after Tony Romo showed up because Tony started doing things that were really unusual, like predicting what the next play is going to be. No one had done that before. But it was his youth and his new perspective. And we all think of ourselves as being able to do that, but in reality, as we get older, we lose that capacity. We can't do it. So none of us wants to be that guy or that woman. But if we don't look at ourselves honestly as we get older, we will be that guy. And folks will be looking at me and you thinking, look at that fool. You gotta quit. People have been asking me, what are you gonna do for your birthday? Well, turn 62. It's not really one of those years where something magical happens. It's not like 65, which is kind of the standard retirement age in America. It's not 60, which is a decade year, or 70, which I'm not looking forward to at all. So it's kind of one of those in-between years. And I'm just gonna be, other than this weak ass YouTube I'm making, I gotta work, fools. I do. I got some meetings today during the day. I even have one this evening that starts at 7, so I got a long day ahead of me. But tomorrow, I plan to head up to the city, SFO, San Francisco, if you don't know what those letters mean, and hang out with my sexy wife. All right, folks, that's about all I got for this video on my 62nd birthday. So again, don't forget to like this video. And since it's my birthday, go ahead and give me a birthday present of one more subscription. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe. Even if you don't watch any more of my videos, that's a gift that I really appreciate. It would help me forget how old I am. Peace out of here.